It's something that it's about $15, $17 at the time that we're shooting this.
$18 the last time I bought one.
Inflation. Hello, welcome to Bourbon Theory. I'm Bill.
I'm Josh.
And we're here
to drink some bourbon.
Yeah.
Today,
share some bourbon.
Today,
we're going to be drinking some Brothers Bond. So, don't have a lot of information about this. Have drank some of it. This was actually gifted to me by my brother, Rick. And based on the name, bought it for me, or bought it for us. Based on the name, it's a 40 proof, 40% alcohol, 80 proof, out of Silverton, Ohio, distilled in Indiana, most likely MGP. This kind of goes to something you'll probably hear a lot from us, which is we really like full disclosure on labels.
Full transparency.
We'd like to know where it came from, not have to guess at it.
Who distilled it? Not bottled by, not produced by, distilled by.
Yes. I don't care where you bottled it. I care where it was distilled.
Who distilled it?
Who did the distilling? So anyway, as you can see, drank some of it. Pretty good. But let's get into it.
Cork pop. Now here's a good question. Do you let your bourbon sit?
Not really. I like to take a look at it. And by the way, I like an open mouth glass. We've talked about this amongst ourselves a little bit. A lot of people like the Glencairns. They get in the way of my nose. And I don't think I have a big nose. I have a big nose?
No, we have very small noses.
But it gets in the way of it. I like a more open mouth glass. I like a glass with a heavy bottom. And that's really my preference of it. Now, if I bring it up and I nose it, and by the way, I always nose with my mouth open because that's where your taste receptors are. It really helps you with your nosing. And I'm getting sweetness.
A lot of sweetness. Corn sweetness.
Yeah, a lot of corn in it. There's no mash bill notes on this at all.
Yeah, which is another thing
Actually,
we like to see.
I take that back. It's a 4 grain, but there's no percentages. So it's really interesting that it is a 4 grain. And I've had a lot of 4 grains that I do enjoy. So it's got a good nose.
It's got a little bit of a spice, not much, nothing serious, not necessarily cinnamon or anything like that.
We should catch that on the tongue, on the middle. So not much in some decent legs, which doesn't mean anything. So.
You tell me about you, but that started incredibly sweet and went spice.
I get the spice. I'm picking up on the front of the tongue, which is where you'll get the sweetness. I'm getting the spice in the middle, getting nothing on the back.
Just a tiny, tiny little bit for me of spice on the back.
But it is spice. Anything I get close to the back is spice.
He likes spice-forward bourbons. That's his preference. He's been drinking a whole lot longer than I have, so my palate is new and fresh. So some things on the sweeter side.
That's rude.
He's old. I like things a little more on the sweeter side, but who knows? That might change in time.
The reason that I'm not getting much on the back is it just hasn't been in the barrel very long. It's a straight bourbon whiskey, which means it's got to be 2 years old. I wouldn't put this one much more than 2. It might get to 4. But it's pretty blonde, not bland, but it's blonde. So it hadn't been in the barrel for a long time. It just hadn't had time to pick up a lot of color from it.
So a lot of the neutral grain spirit flavor coming through on it.
Yeah, but there's some corn there, but it's not overwhelming corn, like you would get with a really young whiskey.
There's some rye grain flavor to it.
Yeah.
Definitely a little wheat.
It's not uninteresting, and it actually lingers.
It does.
The mouthfeel lingers, which is good. You always
the staple of a good bourbon, a good neat drinking bourbon, is that it doesn't leave your palate immediately after you swallow. You want to have that flavor last. That's how one of the reasons you can know something is a good bourbon.
Yeah, I want to have that. I want something that, man, if I can get something that 20, 30 minutes after I drank the last drink of it, I can still taste it. It's still there.
Yeah,
that's a sign of a very good bourbon.
Entices you to get a second glass.
Yeah, this is not. It's not bad.
No, definitely pretty good for an 80 proof.
I don't remember the price point, but I think it's around $40.
It should be.
This was bought in Wisconsin, where my brother and sister-in-law live. So I can't tell you exactly what it was, but I think it's around that $40, $50 range.
We saw some in our local area around 40. I think 45. It's not the same release as this. It's a different. But I couldn't imagine it would be much more expensive than anything. This one might be less expensive than what we were seeing out when we were looking around today.
One other thing that I like to do, and we're switching this around, doing the Kentucky Chew, which is not something that we coined or I coined. It was either Freddie No or it was Eddie Russell that I was around at one of the events, and that's where I heard it first. I just can't remember which one of them it was where I heard it, but it's a very good term. But one thing that I always do, especially if I'm having a little bit of trouble picking up what I really want to pick up, is I'll swish it under the tongue as well, because you have taste receptors under your tongue, and they don't get as much use as those on the top of your tongue. So it kind of helps out a little bit. And as I do that, I get that spice. That spice comes in there.
It really flows for me on the outside, mid to finish on my tongue. The middle kind of stays sweeter for me, but like that spice flavor is sticking around, and it's sort of right around the edge of my tongue.
But yeah, I'm getting that allspice. I'm getting maybe a bit of a nutmegish type thing. And by the way, as we talk about these types of things, these are all in our palate. And let's be clear. In bourbon, nothing's added. The only thing that goes into it are the grains, the water, the yeast, and really, that's what you get.
The flavor all comes from the barrel.
Right.
How long it stays in the barrel, yeast, what kind of barrel it is.
Which has got to be a white oak barrel, used one time, and that's it. But the char makes a difference. If you've never seen a barrel stave that's come out of a barrel that's been used, you'll see that liquor has gone into that wood about 3/8 of an inch, and it goes in and it comes out with the cycles of each season. And that's what pulls the color in, and that's what pulls the flavors out of that wood. It's an amazing thing that happens with it.
It kind of depends on where the barrel is stored too.
True.
If you're in a warmer state, chances are you're pulling more of that juice into the wood and cycling out.
And if you don't get cold enough, it's hard to pull it back out of the wood.
Which is, we see Jim Beam's Devil's Cut is that juice that's left in those staves that they go in and squeeze out. So there's always something left over.
Yeah, the angel share, the part that goes into the air, they're trying to get that Devil's Cut, that piece that they can try to pull back out. It's a bit of a gimmick, let's be honest. But this is one of the things where you'll hear it from us, from me. I'm partial to Kentucky. Kentucky has the really hot days, and it also has the really cold days. It has the hills, it has the valleys, and where these rack houses are, the way they're set up, it makes a difference in what's in there. Also, limestone water. The worst thing you can have in bourbon is anything that's got any iron content in it. We'll talk about that again in some of the videos, but stay away from your tap waters, stay away from anything that's got any kind of iron content. We're on a well here. If I were going to add water to a bourbon, it won't be my well water. And my well water may be great from that, but I won't try it in my bourbon.
Best thing, easiest thing for you to do is to get a gallon distilled water at your grocery store. Make your ice cubes out of that. Get an old school tray, throw it in your freezer. If that you like to drink on the rocks, do it like that. Otherwise, a little eyedropper.
I know you'll see us do that Add 1 drop to what little bit is in that glass. Give it a swirl. Opens the nose and opens the palate. It's amazing what 1 drop will do. And you'll see us use Kentucky limestone water. Get it on Amazon. You'll see us with it on the bar in a future video or another video you'll see. And or maybe in a previous video you'll see it. But it's something that it's about $15, $17 at the time that we're shooting this.
$18 the last time I bought one.
Inflation. Anyway, that's the reason I'm sitting on the right, standing on the right side of this video. You can figure that out for yourself.
He's always right.
Yeah. Well, when you're right, you're right. So anyway, when I was buying it was about $12 maybe for a bottle of it. So, but anyway, that's one of the greatest things that you can use it for. And I've got some of the bottles I bought when I bought it the first time. I'm still using it from them, so it lasts a long time. It does not take much.
I bought mine a few months ago, and I haven't even taken an inch out of the bottle yet.
So, one of the things Josh asked at the beginning of this was, when you nose it, what do you get? And what do you do if you get, I think where he was headed was, what do you do if you get an ethanol from it? Lots of times with a higher proof, you'll get an ethanol. First thing I do, just give it a quick blast of air into it, kick that ethanol away, and then nose it. You got to get that ethanol off of it.
Speaking of the nose, this has an excellent nose.
It
has a very, very nice
I get
smell.
Much more sweetness from the nose than I get on the palate.
Yes, absolutely. So, definitely more enticing, but your olfactory senses, if you're smelling it, especially when you are going to take a drink, if you inhale with that first little bit before you get your first drops in your taste buds, can really enhance the experience and the flavor that you're going to get out of it. Mm-hmm. And I think that for me is maybe where I'm getting a little bit more sweetness than you are.
And maybe my palate's worn out. It could happen.
Because he's old.
Because I drink a lot of bourbon.
He does. So that he does.
I'm a daily drinker.
This is a pretty good little bottle.
Yeah. Well, it's a regular size bottle. Not little.
I guess I'm saying little for the 80 proof.
Yeah.
We're not big on low proofs, but every now and then you find a gem, and tell you what, this is pretty good.
Yeah.
If you had to rate it, scale of, we're doing a grade school rating scale.
A through F.
A through F. We'll throw in pluses and minuses.
I'd give it a C.
Yeah,
it's a solid C.
Definitely, I think it's a really good starting point. Mm-hmm. Especially if you maybe have a little more experience in aged spirits. The spice can be a little bit much maybe for a fresh, brand new drinker. But this would be definitely a good gift for someone I think that maybe has just started their burning.
I probably wouldn't use it as a mixer. The proof's just too low.
Yeah.
To get it to stand up in anything. Mm-hmm. And I'm not again, you'll learn it. I'm not a big mixer. I don't do mixed drinks.
The only mixed drinks I make are for my family, not for him.
So it's, but for other people that I know like an old fashioned or they like different things, to me, you got to have something that'll stand up and still bring that bourbon profile or that rye profile through it.
So if you're not getting that flavor, same thing with any cocktail outside of vodka.
Why drink it?
Yeah, why are you drinking it? Half the reason is to get some of that natural flavor that came with the spirit.
Right.
You're amplifying it with those
drinking
mixes.
To get a buzz.
Which, if that's your thing, do shots.
Why use a glass?
And don't do it with this.
Yeah. So, good one to keep on the bar. Yeah, like I said, probably wouldn't use it in a mixer. It's just not strong enough. So,
yep, that's a solid C.
Will take us out.
Well, guys, thank you so much for watching. We're going to be doing a whole lot more single bottle reviews, all kinds of other videos, so stay tuned. This is our first sort of practice we've had at a single bottle review. I think it went pretty well. What do you think?
I think so too.
Yeah. This is uploadable.
Thank you. Cut, because I need you to edit, because I can't remember how I was going to end.
I can't remember either, to tell you the truth.
What the fuck good are you?
Oh, well.
That was my first thought, by the way.
He's doing well.